Assassination, such a mouthful of a title, was directed by Sam Levinson, who also wrote this movie. Spoilers will be coming up in the next couple minutes. I'll put the time code in the description and also in the title and say, hey, gonna do spoilers. Should you guys go watch this movie? I went in with no expectations, having just seen the trailers and not sure what to really think of the trailers, thinking that it looked like a bit like Mean Girls mixed with The Purge, and thinking, okay, and that's pretty much what it basically is, but there's a little more to it with the social issues it tackles. This movie is surreal and fun and comedic and odd and strange, but I was never bored. I was never bored watching this, even if it took a bit to build. It was a bit of a slow burn as stuff gets revealed, like, the madness starts to take over and everything. And in this town of Salem, yes, the town of Salem stuff, weird stuff always seems to happen in the town of Salem, whether it's Salem, Oregon, or Salem, Massachusetts, or I'm sure there are other Salems around. But the whole point is, it had some really good undertones with it. Some really good undertones of, like, social issues and what happens if your private information gets leaked, because that's, displayed in the trailer and everything. How would people necessarily react? How would you react to getting hacked? That is something that this movie tends to tackle. Would you deal with it one extreme or another? Would you try to deal with it with the best way possible? Would you take the easy way out? How would you deal with it? This movie does answer a lot of those questions, and it answers them violently, humorously, and also realistically. There are a lot of people that may be affected by this movie. There are some people that may appreciate what this movie has to say, even as the movie throws a whole lot of stuff in your face. It is very, very in your face about it. Not in your face necessarily to the point where it gets preachy, but in your face to where it's like, okay, I'm going to just throw all this dialogue at you, throw these characters at you, and we're going to throw this backstory, but you're also going to understand that people have secrets that they don't want to have revealed. And the people, that these are still teens or these are still young adults that are trying to find love and find acceptance and find their way in this world, in this crazy mixed up world. And it does also tackle a whole lot of the political stuff without taking either side. It does tackle the whole thing of, like, the increasing amount of violence and madness and uneasiness that this country in particular has been through in the past few years. It does tend to tackle that. And one thing I do want to praise, and this is not anything that's going to spoil it, but there are four actresses. Odessa Young, who plays Lily, who's the main character, the main protagonist. Hari Neff, who plays the character of Bex, who's a transgender character, who's actually a transgender woman. I want to praise that right there. Yes, acting is all about playing different roles, having fun, doing all this stuff, and sinking your teeth in the roles and being the best that you can, and making people believe that what they're watching is legit. And, oh God, they're doing really good, with this role. But to have somebody who's actually transgender who can speak on these issues and speak on feeling like you want to just be accepted by not just your friends, but by somebody that you love, by somebody you just want somebody to accept you for you. That is one thing I really did appreciate about the character of Bex. And maybe I just saw a little more in it than maybe the filmmakers intended. But I thought it was really, really nice. And hopefully I said the name right, Hari Neff, hopefully she does, some great things in Hollywood. Honestly, I mean, I'm not too familiar with any of the main four actors. Are we still saying actresses for women and actors for men, or are we just saying actors in general? Suki Waterhouse, who played the character Sarah, and Abra Nakadabra, who played, and I can't imagine how many times she probably heard that in her life, who played the character of M. So now I'm going to get into spoilers. So here at 4:30, we're going to get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1, and here we go. This is going to be a bit hard to describe the movie, but from the beginning, you get this impression that this town of Salem is about to crack. Like, there's the teens, there's the parents that want to raise their teens correctly, and, right, and have them prepared for the outside world and everything as, the madness continues to increase. And as, there's this whole thing of, social media taking over, and be careful what you share on social media. Be careful what your search history is. Wipe your search history. Clear your browser history. This kind of stuff. Because if you get hacked, you wouldn't want certain things to be leaked, and that's unfortunately what happens to the mayor character, who it's revealed he's a crossdresser. I'm not judging, but that's what happened in the movie, and he can't take the pressure. He can't take what happened, and he basically kills himself while trying to give a speech. And sometimes social media outcry and what people do can come back to bite them. You find out a bit later from the character Bex. All these girls are discussing, and Bex in particular says, well, the mayor was all against LGBT issues and trying to take away rights and everything, and then finds out about that, oh, he's actually this, that he's actually closeted. I don't really have any sympathy for the guy that did this. And Lily's trying to play devil's advocate and this kind of stuff, and everybody's got a different opinion. But you really do get a sense of camaraderie among these young women, that they actually are friends. I don't know if they are, but they really did convey that really well in this movie. You then get later the principal, after talking to Lily about some explicit drawings that she had done, you find out later that the principal gets some stuff leaked, and some pictures are of his daughter, I believe 6 at the time, in the bath. Oh God, what in the world? Like, could he just be? A lot of people make the jump immediately, and that's one thing that this film does, tackle on. They jump immediately to, oh, he's a pedophile or this kind of stuff, because he has pictures of a 6-year-old daughter in the bath. Now, the one thing that this movie does do is it does go with the guilty until presumed innocent line, and that's one thing that this movie does tackle that does tend to really hit the nail on the head and hit home for me and quite a few other people when it comes to social media. Like, people are quick to judge about things and not maybe try to find out what the actual reasoning is and this kind of stuff. They just automatically assume they just go from 0 to 60 right there. Now, people can make their own judgments about what a dad would do, why a parent, dad or mother, would have pictures of their child at that age in the bath, but that's neither here nor there. The principal decides not to resign, and some escalating violence happens. His house gets broken into. There's a lot that is thrown in your face. Like, honest to God, there's a lot to take in with this movie. It almost feels like it's a movie where a director's cut might actually be about 30 minutes longer. And at nearly 2 hours, I think it's like 1 hour and 50 minutes. And that's with the credits. So I think it's more like 1 hour and 40 minutes before the credits really start. It is a movie that almost feels like they could have tacked a little more on, but at the same time, it almost seemed to end right when it should have. But back to the principal. He decides not to quit his job. He will not resign. People react, and like I said, his house gets broken into. And then suddenly, this mass hacking thing hits everybody in Salem. Everybody's private information is out, including Lily's. Lily, who has been sending these dirty pics and sexting. She's been sexting with this guy under the name of Daddy. And she's like, oh, and calling her boyfriend Daddy, because she has a boyfriend, Mark, played by Bill Skarsgård. Yes, Pennywise from It. And, oh, she calls her boyfriend Daddy. I don't understand why. I really don't understand that stuff, but that's neither here nor there. It turns out it's actually this 40-year-old guy whose daughter she babysat for. Joel McHale, he's one of those you would recognize his face more. I believe he's on the show Community. He plays the character of Nick. And yeah, you get the kind of sense it's a younger girl going for an older guy. Everybody's got their damn demons. Everybody's got their skeletons in their closet. Things that they don't want to necessarily have get out in the open. Bella Thorne's also in this as a character of Reagan. Everybody has certain things that they're dealing with. Lily, with the fact that she's been, cheating on her boyfriend, essentially. M's got her, home life that she's been having issues with. Sarah's one of the characters where, she was probably one of the ones that I remember the least about. But then you got the character of Bex, who just wants to be loved and accepted for who she is. and has this one guy that she's interested in. But he's kind of at war with himself, and friends are making fun of him because they find out that he slept with her, and it is what it is. But since the character Bex is transgender, and she played by a transgender actress, um, his buddies on the football team are just making fun of him and stuff like that, and that comes into play later. But after all this stuff gets leaked, all this escalation of violence just goes like from almost 0 to 60. It hits you in the face with a whole lot of stuff. Much like this one guy who was chasing down Lily got hit in the face with a goddamn shovel. That was pretty damn cool. There were some dark comedic and violent as fuck moments. There were some blood-soaked moments, especially when this gunfight broke out later when the one police officer that seems to exist in the entire town, was trying to get all four of these girls. Because somebody had confessed to these masked guys that it was Lily that did all the leaking. It wasn't Lily that did all the leaking. It actually turns out to be her brother, and her brother did it for the lulz. The other brother did it for the lulz. That's what he said, which pretty much summed up the whole thing of why people are so desensitized to violence. Like, hey, I didn't think, this idea, leaking all this private information of all these 17,000 whatever people would lead to so much damn violence. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do it. It was kind of a way to shrug off all the stuff. It does go with a feminist, tone at the end with the way the women are empowered to take down these guys that have been harsh towards them, and the guys are out to kill them, not just Lily but all of them, and especially like Bex, who ends up getting rescued. There's this big montage with all these guns and more violence and blood, and blood-soaked stuff. It's not the bloodiest movie I've seen, but the blood does fly in the last, I'd say, 30, 40 minutes. And it is pretty damn cool. And it is pretty nice to see the whole thing with, girl power and stuff like that. Even if I felt that maybe at first it might have felt a little forced, these girls did all have a legit reason for doing it. Now, you could argue that Lily's character maybe was the one that probably shouldn't have done all the, maybe was the one that kind of caused her own problem by taking the dirty pics and the sex, and in the sex scene that she did. But that's also victim blaming, and that's kind of wrong. I mean, like, you got to be careful what you put out on social media 100%, but also you would send that stuff trusting somebody not to leak it. And that's the unfortunate thing about social media. The character of Nick, played by Joel McHale, is not exactly a nice guy, and not necessarily, on the up and up either. Everybody's got their CD pass and all this stuff. There's no squeaky clean person here. And that's the one thing about this movie is it presents the characters are here and there. I will say that much. Some of the characters are good, some of the characters are bad. The acting is actually pretty damn solid, and I will say that much right there. Is it a perfect movie? There's no such thing as a perfect movie. It's always open to interpretation. Now, I have movies that I think are perfect. There are others that are not going to think that they're perfect. If you think this movie is perfect 100%, you are correct, because it's how you feel. And that's totally fine. People hate this movie. That is totally fine. It is one of those, it does end a bit suddenly, and it does have this weird, sequence in the end credits. It's really a hard movie to describe. Like I've done about the best I can. It's very, very comedic and dark and violent and stuff like that, and it's enjoyable. That much I will say. So I'm gonna say B plus, which I didn't think I'd say because I enjoyed it a whole lot more than I thought I would. Now I don't know if I'll ever watch this again. If I do, I'll probably watch it on Netflix. But if you get a chance to watch this in theaters, go for it. Otherwise, watch it on Netflix or something. But give this movie a watch. You might be surprised by how much you enjoy it. Even if the movie isn't necessarily perfect in your eyes, you won't forget it. I didn't forget it. And I may not forget it for a good long time. It stuck with me. Is it the best movie I've seen this year? No. I say Quiet Place or Hereditary are probably up there as far as movies I've seen. But that's what I have to say. So I do hope that you guys have enjoyed this review of Assassination Nation, which is such a hard title to say. Did you guys enjoy the movie? Did you guys, do you guys think that Do you guys want to send some reviews of people who did, other reviews, so maybe I can see what they had to say, because it's really a hard movie to encapsulate. Like, I tried really, really hard to do this. But anyway, like, share, subscribe. My Twitter handle's in the description. It's been real honestly with John Rithlin, and I will see you soon.